Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for coming through. We know it was at a short notice. We really appreciate that you could come and join us on a press briefing. With me, I have the Regional Director of Western Cape, Mr. Velu Viljoen, and Commissioner Kees Vetter, the famous one, and Miss Sally, who is our head capacity building and transformation. As I said, colleagues, thanks once again for coming through. The Commissioner will give us a briefing on the state of readiness of SARS and the update on the filing season. Mr. Commissioner, we're at your disposal, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sibeko. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, fellow South Africans and taxpayers. Welcome to our filing season media briefing. Filing season started in full swing yesterday, Monday the 15th of July 2024. This time of the year, the uppermost thought in the minds of most, if not millions of taxpayers and South Africans is, where is my tax refund? Given the hardship by many, we fully understand that there are those families among us for whom a refund payment is literally a miracle event. Yesterday, I spent quite some time in the queues at our Pretoria Central branch and witnessed the anxiety in the eyes of taxpayers as I engaged them to their reasons for visiting our offices. In fact, just yesterday, we had over 1.9 million logins to our e-filing system, the highest number of logins on a single day ever, and 191,000 taxpayers successfully filed their returns. I'm extremely pleased that our system were able to respond positively to these high volumes. And as of 12 noon today, we've had a further 600,000 logins and an additional 84 returns filed. This brings the total assessments through auto-assessment plus returns submitted since the 1st of July to about 5.55 million. Let me return for a moment to our auto-assessment offering. Auto-assessment is made possible due to the significant progress we've made in harvesting third-party data from employers, as well as institutions such as banks, retirement funds, medical aids, and other third-party providers, plus data from over 104 foreign institutions that gives us information of South Africans with financial assets abroad. In total, we have received over 150 million data demographics through these sources. Our own teams, then, with the help of our technology platform and supercomputing capability, work these big data sets, applying data analytics, machine learning algorithms to diligently produce assessment calculations, whilst applying risk profiling and fraud detection AI technologies to provide a seamless experience to about 60% of individual taxpayers who have an obligation to file. Of course, the flip side of AI, which is artificial intelligence, is IA, information architecture, or information accuracy. We are extremely reliant on employers, banks, and other third-party information providers to provide us with accurate data. The integrity of the entire value chain of data is important. We have worked extremely hard this past year with large institutions and entities to improve the accuracy of data submissions, bulk data submissions. We appreciate the partnerships with all third-party data providers to enable a seamless experience for taxpayers. Inaccurate data or late data causes downstream difficulties and unnecessary delays and frustrations for taxpayers. Here's a little nugget for the techno geeks like myself. SARS uses sophisticated graph database technology to decipher and process literally billions and billions of rows of data that allows us to compose a single entity view of a taxpayer. And this in turn allows us to produce an assessment outcome, as well as conducting the necessary risk detection through the artificial intelligence methodologies. Not only have we therefore already assessed 5.5 million taxpayers, we have also already refunded about 10 billion rands to 1.6 million taxpayers at an average of about 5.9 thousand rand. We're able to process over 90% of refunds for taxpayers that are not selected for verification within 72 hours through our fraud risk detection AI. And we direct high-risk taxpayers for whom we suspect there may be a fraudulent or an impermissible refund for further verification. Last year alone, this fraud detection capability prevented almost 100 billion of impermissible PIT and VAT refunds from being paid out and lost to the fiscus. Regarding the filing season, commenced yesterday for provisional and non-provisional taxpayers, we anticipate in total, by the end of round about the 20th of January, to have issued approximately 8 million assessments for the 2024 tax year alone, and that's besides prior year tax returns that taxpayers will thankfully submit to ensure that they are compliant. Of the 8 million, as I said, over 5 million of these will have been auto-assessed, which means that taxpayers would have had to do nothing. We would have done the work for them as a commitment to providing a seamless experience for individual taxpayers. Over the past 2 weeks, we've had more than 16 million digital exchanges with taxpayers at an average of 1 million users per day, peaking at about 1.9 million interactions yesterday. I also would like to point out that taxpayers whose financial status may have changed in the last year or any other time before, who may in the past have received a not required to file status from SARS, that notwithstanding this, you do have a filing obligation in law. And so it is incumbent on you to disclose this to SARS before SARS detects it, and it allows you to avoid unnecessary penalties and the payment of unnecessary interests. So what did yesterday, day one of filing season, look like? As I said, we've had 1.9 million e-filing logons throughout the day, peaking at around 150 concurrent users in an hour. Yesterday, 191,000 returns were filed, of which 183,000 were filed digitally, 97% of returns, and only 7,700, or 3% of these returns, were filed via our tax service centers around the country. This is great because it means that most of you did not have to brace the cold and spend time in our queues in order to fulfill your legal obligation. In total, we serviced over 3 million transactions across all our channels and over 1 million views on our website in one day. 100% of taxpayers who would have submitted their returns yesterday have already been assessed. 70% of those were assessed within the 5 seconds. And just in the interest of disclosure, we aim for 90%, but with the high volumes and interactions yesterday, 70% would have been assessed within our own 5-second aspiration, but most of them would have been assessed very shortly thereafter. We also received 57,000 calls and could unfortunately only service about 15,000 of these due to the length of our calls and our current limited capacity to respond to these calls. Cumulatively, from the 1st of July, when auto assessments were issued, to date, as we said, 5.5 million taxpayers have already been assessed either via our auto assessment offering, as well as those who have e-filed, creating potential refunds of 17 billion rand. Of this, 10 billion rand have already been paid out. A further 4 billion will be paid out within the next 72 hours, unless there is a specific reason for it to be withheld. Refunds that are being withheld means that either a taxpayer has prior year outstanding returns, as well as banking details which is not up to date, or where we have detect an inaccuracy. In addition, SARS may have detected the need for further verification and engagement with taxpayers. And the amount that relates to this portion of taxpayers is currently just on 2 billion rand. We encourage taxpayers to complete these outstanding checks before inquiring about their refunds, and to make sure that their details and all outstanding matters are resolved and updated. And then, if you are due a refund, you should have no challenge. Again, an interesting data point. Yesterday, our 5 busiest branches were Pretoria Central Business District, Cape Town, Lower Long Street, Mitchells Plain, Edenvale, and Randburg, where queue times may have been unusually long, and we apologize for those taxpayers who have had to spend the time, and especially in this weather, and your patience with us as we sought to help you. I hope that by last evening, you at least left home having fulfilled your mission for the day. The average queue time across our country were 53 minutes against our own challenge of 30 minutes, again the high volumes, and the average speed to answer the voice channel was about 54 minutes, again excessive against our own 4-minute standard. Yesterday morning, our teams have also been on the ground, visiting branches and engaging taxpayers, and we do this so that we can understand firsthand the experience we provide and the frustrations and the reasons why taxpayers come to our offices, and how we can assist them more and also help educate and transition them to our digital online channels. What have we observed in these visits? Inquiries about the text messages that taxpayers received and how to interpret such messages. Coming to find out about submissions of outstanding returns from prior years seeking to comply. Inquiring and settling outstanding account balances and related account hygiene issues. Employees who received an IRP certificate from their employer and often not understanding what to do with it or what it means. Rectifying and confirming changes to banking details. Changes to mobile numbers and other contact details which SARS is unable to authenticate. Tax reference numbers for the first-time registrants. Now, ahead of our filing season, SARS sent out messages to taxpayers to update their personal particulars, such as banking details and contact information, and to do so well ahead of filing season. Unfortunately, many do not heed this call and now find themselves in an unnecessary queue during the peak of filing season. Many of our own actual filing season messages sent out with good intention to taxpayers informing them of their status have also inadvertently created visits to our taxpayer service centers when individuals did not quite know how to interpret these messages. And this is a lesson for us. When engaging with taxpayers on the ground, I also discovered that many of them were unaware of the USSD and WhatsApp channels that are extremely helpful to obtain your taxpayer number, a statement of account, or your tax status. Just this morning, in engaging, I was able to terminate the visit of 2 taxpayers in the queue by showing them how to use the USSD channel, and they very, very happily went home. We also must explore how we can improve on our pre-filing season campaigns and associated communication. Providing greater clarity and certainty to taxpayers is an explicit strategic objective of our overall strategic intent of voluntary compliance. But we also need employers to work with us. We strongly urge employers to assist their own employees when issuing employee tax certificates, the so-called IRP5s, to enable them to understand what these are about and what to do with it. Employers are also requested not to send work seekers to come to SARS and register as a precondition for being interviewed. This is an unnecessary burden on individuals, many of whom are already struggling financially. Once an offer of employment is made, the employer has an obligation, but also the online facility to register a new employee and taxpayer seamlessly. Waiting in long queues are really unpleasant, especially during these cold winter days, and often undignified. We try hard to service everyone who arrives, but have really created a number of digital platforms that allows taxpayers to comply with their tax obligation without visiting a taxpayer service center. I would like, therefore, to appeal to taxpayers that before visiting a SARS office, to first do the following. 1, download the Mobi app from Google or the Apple Play Store. 2, call the USSD number, which is *134*7277#. Hash is the one that looks like this. And inquire their status and other details. 3, to chat with SARS on the WhatsApp number 0800 117277. Call our contact center, but then select Help You e-file ahead of going through a service consultant to help you complete your filing. 5, select SARS Online Query Systems, or SOCS, on our website, www.govsars.za. Visit our social media pages on Facebook, YouTube, and X, or Twitter, where you will find self-help videos and step-by-step guides. Number 7, make an appointment if all else seems to fail. And 8, as an absolute last resort, we will never turn you away when you do come to our office or show up at our taxpayer service centers, provided you are prepared to wait. In addition, to ensure you're ready for filing season 2024, prepare by retrieving your e-filing password and updating your personal and banking details ahead of time. If you have forgotten your tax number, you can easily retrieve this through our online query system, which is available on our website. If you don't have an auto-assessment notice if you've not received it already by the 14th of July or past Sunday, you can then visit SARS e-filing or Mobi app as from yesterday to request and then to file your return. If you are due a tax refund, it is important that your banking details with SARS are correct and up to date in order for SARS to pay the refund successfully and without delay. We are seeing an increased number of instances where refunds are being paid out into old or inactive accounts and then takes a delay to be corrected by the banks. Delays will also take place if you have outstanding prior year returns. If a refund is due to you, then the refund will follow automatically. You do not have to ask for it. Usually, unless you are selected for any further verification, will happen within 72 hours as promised, from the date on which we issue you with the assessment notice, either on your SARS e-filing or Mobi app. But in some cases, there may be delays. Lastly, we have become aware of a proliferation of scam messages. These are criminals, unscrupulous individuals who seek to defraud unsuspecting taxpayers by posing as representatives of SARS and sending you a WhatsApp or an email message pretending to be us. Please take special care before you click through on any link. So here are some tips to be aware of this and to avoid it. Firstly, do not open or respond to emails from a source that you do not recognize. Beware of emails that ask for personal, tax, banking, and e-filing logon details. We would never ask those credentials, your passwords, your PINs, your credit card information through these links. SARS will also never request your personal banking details in any communication that you receive via post, email, or SMS. However, for the purpose of telephonic engagement and authentication purposes, SARS will take due diligent effort to verify your personal details. Important to remember is that we will not send you any hyperlinks to other websites, even those of banks. Please do not click on these links. Beware of false SMSs, and we certainly would never send you an HTML or HTML attachment, and we will never ask you for your credit card details. Once again, I wish to thank the millions of taxpayers who choose to be compliant. SARS, I commit to you with our 12,500 staff who work hard behind the scenes, we commit to providing you with clarity and certainty, make you aware of your obligations in law. Secondly, to provide for as many as possible a seamless or effortless experience so that you can fulfill those obligations, and then, in the interest of honest taxpayers, work even harder to detect and catch those who seek to defraud the fiscus in any way, because they are stealing your and my money, and they are withholding social services and benefits to South Africans. We remain mindful that for many of you, the payment of a refund is a life-saving event, and we commit ourselves to do so without delays, with any undue delays, but we also ask you to help by ensuring that your account and your file with us is up to date and all past issues have been resolved. The work we do is transformative. It provides government with the resources that enables the provision of necessary social services and the support to the public. We remind ourselves every day that the poor and the most vulnerable among us would be destitute without our work. Thank you, South Africa. Thank you to the millions of taxpayers for your contribution in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner, for the comprehensive address. Colleagues, the next step would be a question and answer session. The colleagues, the journalists, would be requested to introduce themselves, the media house, from where they come from, and then pose their questions. Well, I think the address was comprehensive enough to assist all the South Africans as well as the journalists. But if there are any questions, colleagues, feel free to do so.
Can you hear me? Is that fine? Okay. Naila Ibrahim from News 24 Business. I wanted to just ask you, Commissioner, about the complaints there's been on social media with people with regards to their filings from 2008, so very backdated forms which they claim SARS is requesting to them, and they've been unable to acquire, or some of them have said that was the time they were in school, or etc. So could you please perhaps respond to those claims that people are saying on various social media channels?
Thank you. I think that's quite an important question. In fact, this morning I met such a gentleman. There are many reasons why there may be either outstanding returns or interruptions in employment. What happens is once a taxpayer is registered, regardless of whether or not he or she remains in employment, from the moment they are registered and have submitted their first filing, they would have a filing obligation every year unless they advise SARS that their status has changed. We would encourage taxpayers to therefore submit a return indicating to us that they've not employed, and therefore there's no taxes to be collected or assessment to be made. What often happens is taxpayers, when they are unemployed for a full year or for a period, they don't inform us. So they would appear on our system as a non-compliant taxpayer, and we would follow that up. When they then are re-employed, as the case with the gentleman this morning, SARS then says, but you have outstanding returns from 2008 to now. What has happened? The burden of proof is then on the taxpayer. So this morning, the taxpayer in question then had an affidavit that indicated to us that he has not been in employment for that period, that we are requiring outstanding returns. But remember also that in addition to submitting the affidavit, SARS could, in instances, if it suspects that there may be a false disclosure, may conduct an investigation, like checking on your banking records, properties that you may have acquired, or other lifestyle assets, to see that there are no instances of unexplained wealth that may indicate that you have had other forms of income. So SARS will try and provide you the service, but balance its own risk management by doing that. Thank you.
Any other question, colleagues?
Maybe online also?
It doesn't seem to be any more questions. That will conclude. There doesn't seem to be any additional question. That will conclude our press briefing.
Before we conclude the press briefing, I don't know, Mr. Viljoen is the regional director. I don't know if he has anything to add, or Ms. Sully, if you would like to add.
Thank you, Commissioner. No, I think you've dealt with it comprehensively. If there's any question, then of course we can respond.
Thank you. Ms. Sully?
I'm good, thank you. I think you've covered it quite well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, colleagues. The meeting, the briefing is adjourned. Thank you.
It's time to make tax matters priority number one. Visit sars.gov.za to update your personal and banking details. If you receive an auto assessment and disagree with it, file your return using e-filing. If you don't receive a notice, visit e-filing to submit your tax return from 15 July 2024. Visit sars.gov.za for more information. Your tax matters. SARS, at your service. It's time to make tax matters priority number one. Visit sars.gov.za to update your personal and banking details. If you receive an auto assessment and disagree with it, file your return using e-filing. If you don't receive a notice, visit e-filing to submit your tax return from 15 July 2024. Visit sars.gov.za for more information. Your tax matters. SARS, at your service.